Jeez, honey. Go to Mr. Spreadsheet move. All right, curve fitting. So if you do not already have your calculator out, go ahead and grab your graphing calculator because you're going to need it. All right, the first thing that you're going to do is you're going to see if you can find the pattern. And I'll explain what that means in a minute. Okay? So you're going to try to see if you can find a pattern just to give you a heads up about what it could be. But then mainly what we want to do is we're going to put it into our stat plot. I don't know why I put an arrow. Our stat plot. And then we're going to do linreg or quadreg, depending on if it's a quadratic or a linear. And then from there, we can find our equation. In general, you're always going to round to the nearest hundredth. Okay? So let's go ahead and get started. I have this table. So remember, for linear, actually, let's go back one. For linear, it's y equals mx plus b, where m is your slope and b is your y-intercept. Remember, the slope is the change in y over the change in x. They're pretty much just y over x. Okay? For quadratic, it's y equals ax squared plus bx plus c. C is still our slope or our y-intercept. These constants are your y-intercept. But let's go ahead and look at the first one. All right, so I look at over here, and the first thing I really should be looking at is to see if I can find the slope. So it's what I do is I find a pattern. So up here I'm adding 1. Over here I'm adding 2. Okay, so then my slope, my m, would be y over x, which would be 2 over 1, which is 2. So if I'm thinking about y equals mx plus b, I have y equals, my m is 2. Now I need to find my b. Remember, your y-intercept is your value of y when x is 0. So my y-intercept is a -1. Okay, so let me show you how to do this using your calculator. Go ahead and grab your calculator. You're going to go to your, first of all, we need to turn the stat plot on. So it should currently be off. So go ahead and turn it on. Now we're going to go to stat. We're going to edit our list. And then remember, we have to clear. Do not push delete. Don't do it. Okay, so our L1 are our x values. So our x values are 0, 1, 2, 3. Oops, not point. 0, 1, 2, 3. And then our L2 is our y values. So -1, 1, 3, 5. -1, 1, oops, not 2. 1, 3, 5. Okay, so then I can look at my graph, and you should look from there, and that's definitely linear, right? Sorry, go to your y equals and clear out anything that you currently have in there. Okay, so that's definitely linear. It's a linear means line. So now I can go back to stat, go over to calc, and I want to push lin reg because that's a linear. So I go to 4. Yeah. Push calculate. And then there it is. So it gives you your equation as y equals, sub in your A, sub in your B. Y equals 2x minus 1, which bam, there it is, 2x minus 1. So this is my equation. They could also ask you, using this table, what would x equals 8, or what is the value of y? If x equals 8. So if x equals 8, what is the value of y? Well, you could just take your equation, y equals 2x minus 1, sub in 8, and solve, getting y equals 15. Or you can go back to your calculator, go to your table, x is 8. Oh, I forgot, guys. If we want to use our table, then you have to plug it into y equals. So 2x minus 1, my bad, and then go to your table. So you scroll down to 8, and sure enough, 8 is 15. If I went back to the graph, do you notice how now that I put in the line, it went through my points? That's what should happen, because that means that is the line that goes for those points. Here's the next one. All right, so I look for the pattern. Over here, I'm adding 1. Down here, it looks like I'm subtracting 3, then I'm subtracting 1, then I'm adding 1, then I'm adding 3. So that's definitely not linear, right? There's no pattern. However, do you remember when we were talking about quadratics? And this is obviously the vertex. And then after that, this should be the same. Then that should be the same. So if you have this kind of pattern where it's -3, -1, 1, 3, or it doesn't have to be these specific numbers, but half of them are negative, half of them are positive, it's most likely quadratic. But once again, let's go ahead and put it into our calculator just to make sure. So go to your calculator, y equals, clear it out because we don't want that in there. Okay, go to your stat. We're going to edit our list, clear anything up there, clear. Oops. Clear. All right. Our x values are -3 to 1, so -3, enter. -2, enter. -1, enter. 0, enter. 1, enter. Okay. Our y values are -1, -4, -5. Okay. -1, -4, -5, -4, -1. Okay. Now we can go to the graph, and sure enough, this definitely looks like it's U, right? So that's definitely going to be a parabola. So we can go ahead and we can go to stat, calculate. This time we want quad, right? Because it's a quadratic. So we're going to go to 5, quadreg. Go ahead and go all the way down, push enter, and there we go. So y equals, we just plug in our numbers. 1x squared plus 2x minus 4, which is really just y equals x squared plus 2x minus 4. That's my equation. Just to make sure, I can put it back into my y equals, okay, x squared plus 2x minus 4. And sure enough, do you see how my line goes through those stat plot or those stat points? So at that point, if I asked you, what is y if x is 9, I would look at my stat or look in my table. If x is 9, y is 95. Okay? If x is 5, y is 31. But remember, you have to put your equation back into y equals. If you just have it in stat plot and not in y equals, that will not work. Next one. All right, so I'm going to look for the pattern. So adding 1, adding 1, adding 1, adding 1. Over here, I'm subtracting 3, subtracting 1, adding 1, adding 3. I think, is that the same kind of? Yes. Well, guys, that's a coincidence. Okay, it doesn't have to be -3 minus 1. It could have been -2 minus 1 plus 2, whatever. Okay, but this is definitely not linear, but it does look like it's going to be quadratic. So that's also my y-intercept. So let's go ahead and put this into our calculator. So grab your calculator. So it looks like it's going to be quadratic, first of all. We grab our calculator. We go back to stat. We edit our list. We need to clear out everything we currently have in there. Okay. Our x values are -2 to 2. So -2, -1, 0, 1, 2. Our L2 are 4, 1. Okay. 4, 1, 0, 1, 4. And we go to graph. And you're thinking to yourself, wait, that doesn't look right, Ms. Beck. It's not going through. That's because we had to clear out our old y equals. All right, so I'm going to graph, and that, once again, that definitely is quadratic, right? Because it's got that U shape. So now we need to calculate the actual equation to the line. So we go back to stat, calculate quad reg, which is 5, enter. And there are our numbers. Y equals 1x squared plus 0x plus 0, which is really just y equals x squared because 0 and 0 go away. So my equation would be y equals x squared. And then if I look at, and then I go back just to check, I put that into my y equals, so x squared. And sure enough, it went through my points. So I'm good to go. So if I ask you, what is y if x is 2? Well, y would be 4 when x is 2. I could also say, what is x if y is 25? All right, well, here y is 25, x is 5. But you have to be careful because remember, parabolas go on both sides. So it would also be, look, negative 5 because y is also 25. But I don't think they're going to do that to you. All right, last example. Last example. I look for the pattern. Over here, I'm adding 1, adding 1. I'm adding 2. Well, that's, all right. Over here, I'm subtracting 2, subtracting 2, subtracting, sorry, that's supposed to be 7. Okay, subtracting 4. So this is a little weird. So I don't want to make a judgment just quite yet, okay? So I'm going to go to my calculator. I'm going to put it into stat. I'm going to edit my list. Actually, before we do that, let's go to y equals and clear out the old stuff. All right, stat, edit, clear, go over, clear. Our L1 is 1, 0, negative 1, negative 3. 1, 0, 1, 3. Did I do that right? Oh, negative 1, negative 3. My bad. Hold on. Negative 1, negative 3. Okay, our y values are 1, negative 1, negative 3. All right. 1, negative 1, negative 3, negative 7. And we can go ahead and look at the graph. That definitely looks linear to me. So I'm going to definitely say that's linear. I can then go to quad reg, or not quad, excuse me, lin reg. So stat, calc, lin reg, 4. Go all the way down, enter. And there we go. So this time, our equation is y equals 2x minus 1. Was that seriously the exact same one as the first one? Maybe. Y equals 2x minus 1 is my equation. Once again, you can find any value just if you look at your table. All right? That's it. So here are your questions. And the reason, oh, real quick, the reason that this works, even though the pattern doesn't, is because we're missing negative 2, negative 5 in there. That needs to go in there. But it's okay if it skips a number as long as the pattern still works. Here are your practice problems. You need to identify if it is a linear or a quadratic and give its equation. And then also, what is y? So y equals what when x equals 3? Y equals what when x equals negative 2? Did I give you? Oh, just kidding. Oh my gosh, I did it on that one too. Jeez. 6, 5. Y is what if x equals 7? And y is what if x equals negative 10? All right, do those.